welcome to this session of the training on removable rigid dressing, RRD. Before I start, I want to thank Musawat Foundation Association. Sorry? Okay. So I want to thank Musawat for giving us the permission to use their premises for this training. I also like to thank Mr. Nasser, who is the amputee for today. He volunteered his time for us to do the training on him. Also, I like to thank Wings for Hope for supporting this training, and I'm hoping that this training will be the beginning of a serial trainings on different things. So it's a pilot project actually to see how practical training is done remotely. So I'm hoping that we can do that later on for different types of prosthetics and orthotics. Okay, so before I get started, again, just to show what we have material-wise, what we need is just the regular plaster of Paris bandages, POP, stockinette, and then a thin stockinette here, then the cling film, and I pre-cut some felt pads from Dacron for the bony prominences to be protected. But you can also use also different things with this. Sorry, Elsa, you have a question?
It's good now.
Okay. And then for the support for the suspension, I will show two methods of doing suspension of the RRD. We will get to that later on. But basically, all what you need for this RRD is very simple. I think most of the materials can be found locally. They're not expensive, and they are readily available in many hospitals. Okay, so we will get started with Nasser. Nasser is an old amputee. So I'm going to just protect his skin because he has a delicate skin and he's wearing a silicone prosthesis. So I will roll this here. With the cling film, I'm not stretching this film too much. Okay, just lay it straight like this. Okay. Now, if the patient wound is still oozing, then you need to protect the wound so you don't get plaster in the wound. Let's suppose that this is the wound here, like this, okay, and just make sure that the wound is protected. The reason that we use removable rigid dressing rather than the soft dressing is for three main reasons or differences between the rigid dressing and the soft dressing. In the soft dressing, if you have edema in the stump, then you will control the edema by stretching or rolling the bandage all the way around like so. But the problem with the soft dressing is that it does not give protection when the patient is in bed, for example, or when they are walking. And then the application of the soft dressing is usually, if it is not done correctly, then the patients will be stretching the bandage more in some areas, and then they will be restricting the blood flow from the back, the posterior part of the knee, and then they will not have enough pressure control all the way around. Whereas in the rigid dressing, and I will show this later on also when we make the rigid dressing, we have the pressure is spread all the way around, so we have hydrostatic pressure acting on the edema to control it, and then we will have also the protection of the wound distally in case the patient start walking, for example, not remembering that he has an amputation, and it happens a lot. So it is a protection. At the same time, it is stabilizing the tissue, which means if I have a scar here or a wound and I keep stretching my skin around the wound, what will happen is that the wound will not heal because of the stretching of the skin. So with the removable rigid dressing, we are not only controlling the edema, but we are also stabilizing the skin so the skin doesn't move up and down. And this is very important. Okay, so the main thing with the removable rigid dressing is that you will apply pressures all the way around, except on the wound you will need a little bit of protection. But you don't want to put too much padding distally, because if you create too much gap, what will happen is that the wound will be protected, yes, but the edema will try to fill that gap. And instead of controlling the edema to minimize it, it will be bigger because it will try to fill that gap. So we are not really creating a gap distally where the wound is, but we are only protecting the wound. In addition to protecting the wound, I need to protect also the bony prominences. Now Nasser is an old amputee, so his bones are very clear. The lateral tibial flare is there, and the tibia, you can see the tibia, the distal tibia is like a very sharp bone here, and the fibula, you can see the head of the fibula. So what I have done is that I have prepared from the felt. This is the felt that I use for the padding as a spacer, and then I remove these once I finish with the rigid dressing. If you don't have felt like this, you can also use the bandage that comes for the fractures. So this is also used for the fractures. You can use gauze, you can use anything, maybe cotton also. Okay, so it doesn't have to be felt, it can be any spacer that will move the hard plaster away from the bony prominences. Alright, so what we can start now, and what I will do first of all is that I will apply a stockinette. So I can put the spacers in between. This is a very thin stockinette, as you see. It is not the thick one. So I'm going to put it up there. Okay, like so. And then I will double it from the bottom. Now you can also use, if you don't want to use a stockinette, you can use a sock like this. Okay, so if you have the athlete sock, which is like the towel from inside, and then the outside is regular with no heel in it, just a straight sock like this one, then you can apply it, and then you can apply the rigid dressing over that. But for this case, what I will do is that, okay, in between the two layers, I'm going to put my protection. Okay, so I made for the tibia and the lateral tibial flare, I made this piece of padding. I doubled on the bone here because Nasser is very bony, and then on the fibula I also made two parts of the felt, and then I will put them here. Okay, and then I will reflect this back. Nasser, خد هيدا من هون شده. Okay, that's good. Now make sure that you get it. The edges are soft and nice. This is exactly where I want it. And now we are ready for the rigid dressing. What I will do also is I will apply the cling film one more time. In the original manuscript, if you read the attachment that I have put there for the rigid dressing, they did not apply this, but I'm doing it myself to keep the plaster clean and also to protect the patient a little bit more. I will also draw on this one the trim line and the borders so you can see what is happening there. At the same time, it will allow the plaster to be removed easier. Okay, like this. And it will make the inside of the plaster cast smoother. This is what we want. So, first of all, let's see. I will draw the patella. The flexion in the knee is about 10 degrees. اطوي شوي صغير يا ناصر. ايوه هي خليك ما بقى تتحرك ما بقى تشد كثير لفوق. اوكي سو
شوي بس عشان لحقك اقدر افوز.
اوكي okay so zoom. I will draw the patella. This is the size of the patellar tendon. Usually in a Biloni, if I'm doing a cast, I will also mark this, but I don't need it now. The head of the fibula is right there, so I'm going to move this over the head of the fibula correctly. And then for the borders of the rigid dressing, I'm going to go with the middle of the patella, the middle of the condyle, and also on the medial side. Now from the back, I want to make sure that my rigid dressing, when the patient is flexing the knee, does not come out for the rigid dressing. So what I will do is that I will put my finger here, and then I will draw underneath my finger, and this is exactly where I want the rigid dressing to reach. I don't want it too high in the posterior, because you know what happens if it is too high, then when the patient flexes, the rigid dressing will be popped out like there. Okay, so now this line is guiding me during the casting is where exactly I want to put my plaster. So make sure that your plaster do not go over the condyles, so it is not supracondylar, okay, especially on the medial side here. Okay, and as you see, Nasser is very weak muscles there, and then very prominent bone. So we don't want the plaster to go up above the medial condyle of the femur. All right. Okay, so now I'm ready. I padded the bony areas right there, and then I drew where I want my trim line of the rigid dressing itself. It will be composed of 3 steps. The first step, I will put a circumferential wrap of plaster all the way around. The second step, I will reinforce it in the medial lateral, anterior posterior, with 2 pieces of plaster that I made from 4 layers of plaster. Now, for me, I'm using the Cellona, which is made by Roman. This is a German plaster. This is the best because it is very rich with plaster. So, for the reinforcement, I made this piece for the anterior posterior to be laid this way from 4 layers of plaster. If your patient is a big patient and the stump is big, then you need 6 layers. If your plaster is not very rich, if your plaster bandage is not like this one, very rich, you can also add more layers. For Nasser, he is about 70 kilo تقريبا. 73. Okay, Nasser is 73 kilos, so he doesn't need too much protection down distally. So 4 layers anterior posteriors, another 4 layers medial lateral, and then that will be enough for the distal. I want the distal part of the rigid dressing to be extremely thick and extremely strong. So we will start with the first layer, first step, which is the plaster. Okay, so again I will explain before I start working. I will use 1 roll, or actually this is half a roll because he has a small stump. 1 roll to go all the way around. I will not exceed the line that I drew for the top of the rigid dressing. Then I will apply the reinforcements on the AP and the ML, and then I will apply another roll all the way around to make sure that I have it where I want. Okay, so we get started with the plaster now. I make sure that the patient understand that he does not want to move his leg during the casting, otherwise it will not be good. So I'm going to make him square with me. This is the table, this is the patient leg straight with me, not going, lateral or medial, and then he doesn't want to move the knee. Okay, so ما تحرك أبدا منهم. Okay, so you want to work a little bit fast, not too fast, but this is what I'm doing here now. And make sure that you have at least 4 rolls up on top. Okay, so this is 3, and then the rest like so. Now I bring my reinforcements, the lateral medial one first. I squeeze it, make sure that it is laminated together like this, okay? I apply it distally. Make sure that it is meshed with the previous one. Then I put the anterior-posterior. Now as you see, I don't dip it much in the water, just enough, because you don't want to lose plaster when you are doing this. Okay, so I'm applying down at the distal part like this. And then finally, with the third step, I'm applying the roll over the whole thing, starting from the top, going to the bottom, and then I will hold it here. As you see, I'm not putting too much pressure on the bandage when I'm laying the bandage. You don't want this to be too tight, because the spacer socks will take care of that. So I'm going again a bit lower in the back, and then the front. So I'm reaching the middle of the patella where my line is drawn, like so. 3 layers, 4 layers is enough. Okay. And then finally, the last one, just getting everything together. Now, if you need more than 1 roll, if you have a big stump, you can do that. Make sure that you are massaging everything together, like so. Okay. If you have a wound, you don't want to put pressure on the wound. So you work around the wound on the medial flare, okay, on the pretibial muscles right there, and then in the back, make sure that you are also massaging well. And then for the top, I just move my finger all the way around like so. You don't want a sharp edge, especially in the back. I'm lowering that a little bit with my finger. Okay, and بالضمادات أبو سعيد. Okay, so no pressure, nothing, except that I made sure that I have total contact on the medial tibial flare. I have total contact on the pretibial muscles between the tibia and the fibula. The head of the fibula I did not touch. The wound I did not touch. I just want to make sure that it is set. And then the patient is not moving at all at this stage. It's important that he does not move, because you don't want to change the shape of your rigid dressing. Okay. So now I'm ready for this second part, which is the suspension part of the rigid dressing. And what we will use is that I can use, in the original manuscript that I sent to you, it shows the X-Lite, which is very similar to this material. It is made from resin, and then I don't like to use it because the edges are usually hard to smooth. Then we came across this material from a large company. It is called the C-Lite. It is made from polycaprolactone, which is a friendly material. It is made from cotton, but it has some resin in it also. The mesh is nice because it allows the air to get in. So you can roll a piece here for the suspension, but this is an alternative. I myself use the low temperature thermoplastic LTTP, 3.2 millimeter thickness, perforated, and then it will go over this. I will show how we can do that once we have the hot water, because to mold the low temperature thermoplastic, you need hot water at 65 to 68 degrees. So we are getting the hot water now. Meanwhile, what I will do is that for the patient to know how to guide the rigid dressing over their leg, I'm going to draw for them the patella, like so. So when they apply it, they just match the patella that I made over their patella, and they don't twist it this way or the other way. Now, what I have done actually during the casting is that when I massaged over the medial flare and the pretibial muscles and a little bit of backing in the back, I created almost a triangular shape, which means that the rigid dressing will go on the patient in one direction. It will not twist. However, just to make sure that things are done correctly, I'm going to draw the patella for the patient so they know this is the part that goes on the patella. Believe it or not, we have seen in many rehab places and in many homes where we deliver the prosthesis for a patient and they have a soft liner, for example, they put it twisted, the anterior, they put it posterior. So we always guide the patients on doing things correctly with doing these. All right, so now we come to the suspension part, and what we need in the original manuscript, they used a stockinette to just put it over like this, but I'm doing this a bit differently because with my experience in this, I want to make sure that I have enough of cotton stockinette. So I have a long piece of stockinette that I will apply later on after I mold my I hope that they have it. Okay. All right. I'm also preparing, until I get the hot water, I'm preparing the Velcro hook side with the backing that's self-adhesive. I need 2 pieces of these, so I'm cutting 2 pieces of this. So again, this is the hook Velcro with the adhesive back. Okay, so this is the pile, this is the hook side, the rough side, and then in the back it is self-adhesive, which means I can heat this and then I can stick it to the plastic here. This is the cuff that for suspension. I can stick it to the cuff and then it will adhere there, so you can put the strap to make the suspension. Now, if you don't have the Velcro with the backing like this one, the adhesive, another alternative is to use just the regular is to use a buckle on one side of the strap. Okay, this will go like this. Okay, so you will use the buckle on one side, the roll loop on one side, and then the strap on the other side, and then you can get it in the back and tape it this way. So let's do the molding now, and I will do it the old way. I'll put the plastic in the tray, and then I will pour the water on the plastic. Now this is boiling water, so make sure that you have a protection of your hands when you are using boiling water. I let it rest a little bit. Okay, just a bit more. The nice thing with this material is that you don't need any electricity to make the removable rigid dressing. If you use the X-Light, you can also do the same thing. You will need the hot, the hot water to make it soft, so you can mold it. Or if you want to use also the bandage as a way of suspension, I will demonstrate that after I do the plastic suspension. So the plastic is now ready. I get it out. Okay, make sure all the water is taken out so I don't burn my patient. And then I'm holding it with my hand so I know that it will not burn him. Then I will go, I will go right, I will go just right there, and I will not do any pushing, okay? So I will flare it out just a little bit, all the way around, and that's it. I don't need to do anything. I will let it cool. When it cool, then it is, it can be used for the suspension. So I just laid that there. And I will wait a few minutes. Meanwhile, I will take this tray out. If you do that, what we did on the lower part of the rigid dressing, the plaster, we draw the patella. I will also draw the patella on the suspension dart, which is like this. And then all the patient need to do later on is match this part with this part. Once they do that, then they know that this is done correctly, this is done correctly, and they don't have to worry about twisting with this way or that way. So again, you don't want the plastic to go all the way around. Okay, this is this is where you want it now, and I think I will need the scissors just to cut the. And then I will remove the plaster slowly. All right. So now you see that the inside of the plaster, this is where I put the patella, so the patient can see the patella from inside and the outside. The back is a little bit too high, so I'm going to just turn it until this cools down. So what I will do on the posterior is that I will cut the plaster. And then I don't cut too much. If I see that the patient is still, popping the rigid dressing when they are fully flexing the knee, then I can lower a little bit more, especially when you have a very short stump. Now, Nasser, this is a short stump, so you don't want to remove too much material at once. You always, try to do that on stages. Okay, I think the plastic is now ready. أبو سعيد بدي الشفرة أنا خليك. All right, so we can remove this now. Okay, nice. Okay, so what I will do now is remove the spacer pads that I made to protect him. Okay, I will reflect this back. And again, if you're not using a stockinette, you are using a athlete sock. That's all you need. Is that okay? Now you can apply this because you don't want the rigid dressing to be fitting loosely. So in addition to the sock that I used for casting, I'm using another sock now, and then I need the baby powder to put inside to make the slip. البودرة please, أبو سعيد. Okay. Now, in the original manuscript, they don't have this step. So this is something that I have created myself later on, is that I will go and make a split. لا منيحة. Okay, so you cut the triangle, but you don't cut all three sides of the triangle. So we are cutting this way, and I'm creating a hole down at the bottom, just like this. Okay, keep it hanging. Okay, I will put a little bit of baby powder inside to make it smooth, so it goes on smoothly without too much friction. Okay, and I will apply my suspension. I think I want to try without the sock, just with the inner socks first, because I am using the stockinette as a inner sock and suspension at the same time. So what I'm doing now is just try to move the. أعطينا شغلة نتفشى هذا أبو سعيد. Okay, so half of it will go on this way. Okay, and then the rigid dressing itself, I see that it is kind of loose. So, and then I'm also, with this hole, I can also see if the patient reached the bottom or not. So I think we can put the sock in addition to that. Okay. The reason for this is that when we laid the plaster, we did not put pressure on the plaster except shaping a little bit on the pretibial and the medial flare and the back a little bit. So it's a bit loose, but you don't want a loose fitting. So we add the sock. Okay. And then, okay, what I will do is I will pull this from the bottom here, gently, of course, especially when you have a wound, to make sure that you push in all the flesh, because when you have edema in the stump and you apply the rigid dressing itself, it will try to push the flesh up. Now we want the flesh to go down. So what I'm doing with this is I go with my hand as a circle around this way, and then I will pull with this one and gently pull, make sure that I have all the tissue pulled inside. So now all the tissue are back inside. Okay, I will ask the patient to flex their knee. اتني ركبتك. تعال ضيق شيء من ورا من هون. منيحة. Okay, so he's about 90 degrees now of flexion, and he does not have any problem in the back. So I know that the posterior is okay. So I make sure that my suspension is where I want it, and then I reflect this one back. And then I will apply my suspension. So this is the suspension here. So the rigid dressing doesn't move, because if the rigid dressing is moving on the patient, we gain nothing. So what we do now is that we want to attach the strap on this one. منيح مثل ما هو نجيبه. خليه على ايه شيء. ايه في جيبه مع المصنع. Okay, so نور انت. فيك تجيب شوي صغير هيك بس لحتى نورجيكم. Okay, so this is the self-adhesive backing of the Velcro. I'm going to heat it a little bit. علي شوي. Okay, like so, and then I stick it on here. Same thing on the other side. When you heat this Velcro, it will stick much better on the plastic. So now I have my plastic where I want it, and then I bring the Velcro. Okay, and then we will go with the Velcro from the pile Velcro from here to here, and then the patient can, this is well suspended now. Okay, now if you want in the back here, because you have the blood supply, what we can do is also make this. So it is a pad that we can apply, like this on the patient. So when the patient apply pressure on here, it doesn't really hurt him in the back, because this is an area where it should be done. So now we can keep this a little bit long, and that's it. Now I have suspension because I'm, pushing this with the suspension here, and then the knee is still free to move, but this is not going to lose suspension when the patient is moving in the bed. Now we can take questions if you have, and then I just want to show you how the patient will apply it themselves. فك هيدي هون ناصر من جهة واحدة. اوكي شيلها حطها على الجنب. شيل هيدي.
شيلها كلها؟
ايه.
ولا بس واحدة؟
لا ايه بس واحدة. شيل هيدا. اوكي. شلحها من هون من فوق. خليها هيدي هيك. اوكي. شلح هيدا. Okay. Now you will instruct the patient on how to put on the rigid dressing themselves. Actually, this is a preparation for them wearing the socket for later on for the prosthesis. So it is important for them to understand how to put it on correctly. يلا حط الكاسي. I will not assist him. I will see how he is going to follow my directions on how to put it on. Now Nasser is experienced, so he knows exactly what he needs. لا شدة شوي من واحد قبل. أيوة عكس بعض. بعد. أيوة. Okay. So he makes sure that it is in all the way, and then he pull up tight. Should. Now he can push as much as he wants with this from here. So when he's pulling it on, he can pull on, because right there I have the protection for the wound. Even if I put pressure here, he will not be hurting. Okay, so this is good. Okay, put that on. All right. Very good. Okay, as simple as this. So now the patient put it on. Usually if the patient is, not to be, not following the instructions and your directions, if you think that they will not, make sure that the caregiver is doing that correctly. Then I will ask the caregiver to do that themselves, and that's it. Okay. Now on day one, when we put the rigid dressing on Nasser, we added one thick sock over the sock that I used for the casting, and then the pulling sock with the stockinette. In a day or two, you want to make sure that you still have the tightness all the way around. So maybe after a day or 2 days, you will add one more sock of these thick socks. And then on the third day or fourth day, you add another sock. After a week, maybe you will have 3-4 socks, which is good. This is exactly what you want, because you want to control the edema. Make sure that the patient feels that this is tight all the way around at all times. If it is loose inside, we are losing time, and then we're not getting any benefit from the rigid dressing itself. كيف من جوا هون ماسكي ولا في لعب منيحة؟ Okay, so I asked him if he feels it is tight. Now, as I said, Nasser is experienced prosthetic wearer. You know, he uses the prosthesis all the time. He wears it all day long, and then he knows when it is loose, when it is not loose. So I'm trusting his judgment that it is not loose now, and I think this is good because I'm trying to pull and it's not coming out. Okay. So this is basically it. If there's any questions, then we can, you know, take it from here. في شيء هون عن هون. Okay. هيك منيح. منيح. ما في مشكلة. Okay, good. So I'm making sure that if he hit it somehow when he's walking or in bed or something, and then he hit here, that it will not be hurting on the you know, fibula head here or the distal tibia. Remember that we applied the spacer socks, so I know that it is barely touching here. As I mentioned again, you don't want to leave a gap in the bottom. So you can put your finger through the hole here, make sure that the patient is in all the way. If there is a gap between the wound or the end of the stump and the rigid dressing, that is not good. You want total contact. So you want the hydrostatic pressure all the way around, distributed all the way around, to make sure that you are controlling the edema all the way around.